And so I think even like that just shows like my message I want to kind of give to everyone, like be, especially young people, to have purpose and to really build something in TCI that will be sustained, that kind of lasts for generation to generation.
Welcome to Pushing Your Peers Podcast, the number one podcast in the region for living a progressive and happier life. On this episode, I sit down with youth advocate and musician Demari Fulford, the first male to represent the Turks and Caicos Islands at the House of Commons in the UK. We discuss music education, preserving cultural heritage, mental health awareness, and why purpose matters for young people today. If you are inspired by conversations that push growth and impact, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Sit back, relax, and let's get ready to push some peas. Tell the world, who is Demari Fulford?
Right. It's always awkward answering that question, but I guess I'm the first male to speak at the UK Youth Parliament debate representing Turks and Caicos. I am a first year student studying music and philosophy here at Nottingham. Um, Originally from Providence, Wales. My grandparents and dad are from Grand Turk. And yeah, just trying to learn some stuff here so that I can hopefully come back to my country and give what I've learned. Honestly, I think my moral philosophy is leave somewhere better than you found it. So that's what I'm trying to do.
You know, it's amazing to hear young people talking about transitioning back to Turks and Caicos. You know, it's amazing because there's always this narrative that young people don't want to come back.
Yeah,
You know, and I'm pretty sure you've been a part of those sort of discussions. But let's talk about what got you into the UK, your career choice. You know,
right.
wow. Tell us. I know you're a musician.
Yes.
What made you pursue that career path?
Um, Honestly, I couldn't give you like a perfect answer, honestly. There's no really perfect answer. I'm pretty sure I was just born into it, which is really weird to say because none of my family like play instruments or musically inclined. But when my mom used to tell me when I was younger, before she had passed, she said that when my dad would go away to play softball for the national team in like Tampa, Florida, I would like sing this song that would be recurring over and over. Like I'd made up a song that would be like me missing him. And so every time I'd sung it, she like recorded it. And I think just from a young age, I knew I kind of wanted to go into music. Like around from like when I guess I was from that age until about first form or maybe like form three, I kind of thought I was gonna be a singer-songwriter. And then it kind of transitioned to when I got a more formal music education, transitioned into maybe music composer, and then transformed to a teacher. And right now, I'm currently thinking of pursuing a career in like education policy. So looking at music curriculums and why they work or why they don't work, and trying to change them so that they are adaptable in our island. Because I feel like we have like very stereotypical canons in a lot of like subjects, for example. Like in English, you study like Shakespeare or, all these other different authors. And music, we have the same thing. I bet you've heard of Mozart or Beethoven, maybe
Mhm.
Bach, Haydn, Handel. Like these are all your stereotypical canon of like European white dead men that, maybe can work for the foundations of music, but probably maybe in other countries, is there a way that rather than learning them first, can we learn something else that's different and that kind of maybe works that allows students to also grasp an understanding of music better? That's what I'm trying to, I guess, look at in the future.
You know, I want to touch on that a little bit more. You know, there've been so many great musicians that's passed through the Turks and Caicos Islands that
Yeah.
we don't reference. And I feel like we don't know how to, or we don't know what to look for that would give them the praises that they truly deserve. And what you're telling me is that you're gonna put a framework in place that will make these fields something that we can study, something we can understand, and even something that we can incentivize and award. So I'm looking forward to that. Man, I'm getting chills because I can see it. I can see it
Yeah,
coming into fruition, the career path you're choosing. And, I don't want to take over. I can say what I gotta say though, in the sense that, it's always challenging to try the to try the new way. But Demar, I wish you all the best, and
thank you
that
so much.
and I want you to give, because you're young, but I still feel like you can give an opinion about this. Music in the Turks and Caicos Islands, we've lost our creative edge. I'll say this: we're not making music like how we used to.
Right.
And just based on you've been around so many musicians here, can you tell me what you're hearing and also share your perspective as to why we're not making as much original music as before?
I think we're slowly losing it, like in the sense that it's not perhaps written, or maybe it's not carried from generation to generation unless it's orally. And then when it's done orally, you kind of lose that sense of maybe originality, or you kind of lose that sense of community. I think because we have such a, I guess from being in the UK, like seeing how things work musically wise, looking at like, for example, sheet music or recordings of music and like having them published and stored and archived and kept to show like this is the music of like this century, or this is the music of this person that shaped the identity of the UK, would be something that would be really good to transfer into Turks and Caicos, to actually have a storage of this is the music from Turks and Caicos and this is why, this is who we are. I think that's something that we really should emphasize. And I believe the Department of Culture and Heritage are starting to take up that initiative, starting to do that role. I believe I saw on Instagram, and I used to work there for an internship last summer. And so there are discussions about an artisan registry, so registering artists in the Turks and Caicos and having their music publicized on their website, kind of just allowing others to know more about the music of Turks and Caicos. But I feel like there's still a lot that can be done in order to really keep our culture, keep our heritage, to really then put onto the next generation and have some cultural like pride as well.
Absolutely. And it's something I'm looking forward to seeing materialize, especially the work that the Department of Culture is doing. But I also want to continue to encourage you, because we tend to have an over reliance on government in the Turks and
Yeah.
Caicos Islands. So I always tell persons, if you can also chip in, do your part too. Whether it's you having your little classes or putting together something, we all
Yeah,
have a role to play in the maintenance and the upkeep and the preservation of our culture. We all have to do what we can with whatever God has given us the strength to do. And of course, if He's presented opportunities for us to lead in areas like policy development or departments, of course, you take full advantage of that. But if that doesn't fall into your lap, then you do what you can with what you have.
yeah, exactly. I feel like, especially with organizations already established like MOTAC, I feel like it'd be really good to have maybe more members of MOTAC helping maybe like culture and heritage to do those sort of transcribing of music, or, to really be a leading organization in that front if they're not already doing that.
Yeah, I'm putting it out there to the public, because this is a public podcast. Motak, I need more from you, man. We need originality. We need more songs. We want Listen, what I would love to see though, because Turks and Caicos and Bahamas, we're the only ones in the Caribbean that have that sound. Correct me if I'm wrong. I could be ignorant, but correct me if I'm wrong. I think we're the only ones in the Caribbean that has like that ripsaw rake and scrape. We should be hosting battles between, like the same way Trinidad have they battles of who's the best in
Yeah,
that region for carnival, or soca. We should also have the best here, but we can't compete with the Bahamas if we're not putting out the original music.
that's true.
That's something I would love. I won't compete with them. There's Turks and Caicos or Bahamas Junior thing. I won't put that to rest. No, but Mr. Fulford, thank you so much for sharing that. Are there any local musicians you look up to, or persons you draw inspiration from?
Locally, I'm gonna have to give a big shout out to Brentford Hanfield. He was actually my music teacher when I went to British Wesleyan Youth Collegiate. And he actually really pushed me to pursue music and really supported me in my journey. S- Uh, Despite me saying that, like when I was young, I always be a singer-songwriter. my formal education started with Mr. Hanfield. And I don't, I think if I didn't have him as a teacher, I actually wouldn't have gone into professional education of music. Yeah, he really like he was a pillar of my life, like pursuing this and learning the different things about music and why I've so strongly about going to a career of it. Like he made it actually enjoyable to learn about, which I really thank him for. And that's why I'm here even. You know, that's why I got the opportunity to speak at House of Commons. And my whole speech was on the necessity of music and like the importance of it, especially in small islands like us. So really, everything kind of goes to Mr. Hanfield in that sense.
And Mr. Hanfield, I'm also giving you your flowers because I didn't get an opportunity to attend your son's Jazz in the Garden recently, but I've heard so much great things from your son, that young man. And to have another one of your students on my podcast, kudos to you, man. You've done fantastic, and we need to do a better job of giving people flowers. So I'm giving you flowers on national radio. Continue the amazing work that you are doing. This is not going unnoticed. Now, Mr. Fulford, you go to the House of Commons as a youth advocate.
Right.
A youth advocate, right? Obviously, you had your biases. You mentioned it, but let's talk about other things that's impacting young people your age. What are some issues that's impacting your generation currently?
So before the House of Commons, the British Overseas Territory representatives met at the British Virgin Islands kind of collective house in London, like their kind of office, if that's the right word to put it. And we actually spoke about three topics. And I think two of them that were really important were mental health as well as special needs education in our countries, as well as what was the second one again? Oh, brain drain. Brain drain. We kind of touched up on it a little bit already, but yeah, I think between mental health and like trying to get back our students back into our countries is I think two issues that we're having. I think it's only because we are still a bit behind in development as a country. And once you have that opportunity of freedom, a bit like you go off to the UK to study, you go to the States to study, you see things that you don't have, and you kind of just want to stay. But I feel like we need to have some sort of, I guess, incentivization or just some sort of reason for them to come back, you know, to remind them that, you know, this is home in a way, and that they can also the things that they see are missing, that they can actually add to it and help us.
I love the mental health component. When I first launched this podcast, I used to bring, and I need to get back to that. I used to bring a mental health professional on every month to talk about it because it's one of the things I'm really passionate about, especially being a male. Because as men, I feel like there's this toxic masculinity where we must always be macho and
Yeah.
not display our emotions. Like that's toxic to us, it'd be
Yeah.
self-destruct at the end of the day. So I'm always gonna advocate for that, and I'm happy you singled that out as well as one of the issues that's impacting our generation. Now, when you come back home to the Turks and Caicos Islands, I know this might be short or long. I know how many years you got left in school. Anyway, when you come back home to the Turks and Caicos Islands, what's the first thing on your agenda? Like and listen, it don't have to materialize instantly, but what is something that you really, really want to bring to the forefront when you come back home?
I think just definitely more music opportunities for students, even if they don't pursue it professionally, to still have it as an extracurricular. Because when I came for A levels, there are a lot of, or even now in university, there's a lot of students who don't study music, but they play it on the side, or they play in a band, or they play in the orchestra, and then they have some sort of like, you know, some sort of concert, or just jam session, or just a way to have a community of musicians to really to help each other in a way, or just to have fun. And you know, my time here in the UK has really showed me that music is actually really valuable. You know, when I was applying to university, there you get lower offers based on like how well of an instrument you play, which I thought was really like really cool. So yeah, we have like persons going to top universities usually play instruments and like are really good at it. You know, the UK system have a grade. They have grade. They call it just grades, A, B, or some grades, which I bet you've never heard of. Yeah, I didn't know that either until I first came here. But it goes from grades 1 to 8, and then the higher you go, the more difficult the pieces are, the better of a musician you are. And if you're like, grade 7, grade 8, that's pretty much like pretty good because then you get lower grade offers from university. They kind of look at you a bit more kind of wanting you to come to university and everything. So you can see even like in other parts of the world, and especially in developing parts of the world, that music is actually seen as a what's even the right word for it? I don't even know. More of a thing that should be taught to everyone in a way.
So what grade you at?
Well, I've never done, it's like an official exam. So like they have a professional come in, you have to play about three like set works of pieces, as well as do an oral test. So you have to sing some notes like they put in front of you at the spot. You may have to play like a sort of a scale, ascending and descending, and then you also have to sight read a piece. So I've never done all of that, but from the pieces I've been practicing, I'm roughly about like grade 6 or grade 7, so almost at the top.
Wow, that's amazing. And you know, I mean, Damari, I want to highlight this. I worked in the hospitality early parts of my career. I did probably 5, 6 years in hospitality. I know I look young, but trust me, I got some years on me. But what I'm getting to is that we used to see these musicians come on property, and when they, sorry for disclosing your information. Anyway, I'll deal with that. They making some good money. I mean,
Right.
anywhere from 750 to 1,500 per gig.
Mm-hmm.
Per gig. Not for the week, per gig. So imagine having 3 gigs in a week.
Yeah,
That's your government salary, civil servants. I mean, but I say that to say, I think we are missing a lot of opportunity. I mean, we got 8, 7 new hotels coming. They're gonna need
yeah,
entertainment. They're gonna need
exactly.
entertainment. And I feel like we're missing a huge opportunity with the music field. And that's and the beautiful part about this, you can have dual jobs. You can work your 9 to 5 and then do the music thing, do street. That can pay off your mortgage and send your children 1 gig for the mortgage, 1 gig to go to school.
Oh my God.
No, but I'm calculating it as a working class
Yeah,
citizen in this country. We can actually, through education, make our lives much easier than it currently is.
we can. Yeah, we definitely can.
Yeah, but Damari, thank you so much for sharing that. And you wouldn't be a guest on my show if you didn't get to push some peace. So any words or word that begins with the letter P that has been transformational to your journey, you now have a chance to push your peers.
Well, I think I can't be on this show without saying this one word, but purpose. Just because in the summer I was the winner of the what was it, the Youth Week theme competition, and my theme was Youth with Purpose, building a sustainable TCI. And so I think even like that just shows like my message I want to kind of give to everyone, like be, especially young people, to have purpose and to really build something in TCI that will be sustained, that kind of lasts for generation to generation. And I think that's my aim and that's our goal. We do that for like houses or buildings. You want to make sure these have a firm foundation and stand for like generation. So why can't we also do that with other areas in our lives, like music? So yeah, I just think definitely my P would be purpose.
You know, you were starring at the National Youth Awards last weekend. So kudos to you because you shaped the whole Youth Week with that theme.
I
That's
did, yes.
powerful. So, I mean, congratulations, Tomar. You're clearly on a trajectory of greatness. And of course, to whom much is given, much is required. That's my Christian roots seeping into this conversation, right? And so I just want to encourage you on this journey. It's never easy. It can be quite lonely at times too. But I mean, God ain't gonna give you something you can't handle. And you always have my support. I only met you about a year ago, but I felt like I've known you much longer than that. But continue on your journey. And of course, there's a spin-off question. You wouldn't be a guest on my show if you didn't get that either.
Of course not.
So, yeah, are you ready for the spin-off question?
Not really, but give it to me.
What is a superpower you want that is only useful for minor inconveniences?
Oof. A superpower that I would want.
That's only useful for minor, and you wouldn't use it all the time, just for the minor inconveniences.
Right. Um, Gosh, honestly, it would just to be like to play any instrument I pick up. I honestly think so.
Yeah, you made it music based. I love that.
No, but I think it's really it would be really cool to just have never played it before and then just pick it up and I'm improvising. I'm doing a solo without having to think about it. Or because I play mainly trumpet and piano right now. I've dabbled here and there with many other instruments, but I've never like touched a string instrument. I've never played a string instrument like the cello or the violin. So maybe, for example, someone were to have a wedding or someone to have some sort of event where they need a violin, just come there, pick it up, start 1 2 1 2, done, I'm out, you know? So I think that would be it.
I think you'll be the most famous person in the world if you were able to do that. That would be a fantastic gift. But Damari, thank you so much for coming on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, youth advocate Demari Fulford, right here on Pushing Your Piece, has talked about his journey into music, his experience with speaking at the House of Commons. That's what it's called, Demari.
Yes, it is.
Yes, his experience speaking at the House of Commons. And of course, he was the winner of the theme that shaped the entire Youth Week 2025. Damari, continue on your road to greatness. Now, would you have any advice to young persons who are interested in getting into music right now?
I think just start anywhere. Honestly, just if it's researching a little bit. I know sometimes Turks and Caicos doesn't have many resources and opportunities, but what you can start now is just to learn the basics or the fundamentals, or seeing what other people are doing and trying to almost imitate that in a way. Not fully saying copy because you want to make it your own. You want to have that creativity, you have the innovation and originality, but you also need to start somewhere. But it's better to start now rather than later. Because, I've been someone that has always things in pushed things further and further away because I've been too scared to do it, or maybe because I just didn't have enough time. But even just small amounts every day really does help a lot. It's like when you have an instrument, you practice every day in order to get better. It's the same thing. Even you practice, 10 minutes, increase to 20 minutes, 30 minutes. That in the long run does help so much. So I think honestly, just start now, research. If you have a very supportive community, I was very grateful that my parents really believed in me. They really trusted me to really go into the music field because, many parents, they hear music and they kind of don't want their children to go into it. Go back to STEM, medicine, law, whatever the case may be. But if you have like really supportive parents, ask them to help you with like resources and like buying instruments. I kind of have just in the corner of my room just a stash of instruments that my parents helped help me get, but and like the books in order to help me learn how to play them. Again, I was very grateful to go to British West Indies Collegiate, and they had an actual music teacher to help me. So, kind of also encouraging other people out there to, in if there's the case, to have like these other informal or formal ways of making music together and practicing together. British Collegiate had, I believe it was called like symphony band or concert band. I can't remember what it was called at the time, but that was a way that I practiced and, made a network of people. So finding those little spots of community really helps you. So I think that's what I would leave it on.
Amazing, amazing wrap up. And of course, I something crossed my mind, Amari, and I want to ask you about this. YouTube used to be YouTube University. How you
Right.
feel about TikTok University teaching people how to play instruments?
I think TikTok can be a good place to learn. I've definitely searched some things up on TikTok and I've learned. So, and it's quick form content as well. So I think, if you know, there's YouTube, there's TikTok, there is the whole world is your oyster, honestly. So whatever way that you can learn, I feel like you should be able to step forth. If you have the opportunity, step forth out and go into actually learn about it if you're passionate about it, if you actually want to make a difference or just learn something for yourself. So
And how can persons find you, Demari? Because maybe I didn't ask you all the questions that they wanted me to ask you. So how can persons find you on social media or even in general?
I believe most, if not all of my social media should just be Demari Fulford. Definitely Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, even like my email. Like you can just find me anywhere. I'm sure if you just search up Demari Fulford, House of Commons come up, Youth Winner comes up, like everything comes up. So I'm think I'm pretty findable.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, Demari Fulford, youth advocate, musician, and of course, one of our national stars. It's been a pleasure having him on Pushing Your Peers podcast. And of course, we'll see you guys next week.